Hello everyone, welcome to Yosemite National Park in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. I am in Yosemite Valley right now, which gets my vote as the single most beautiful place in the United States. It's 6:53 right now. I've been up since 4. I camped on the east side of the park last night. I'm now ready to start the day off properly with a good hike. The hike I'm doing is to Upper Yosemite Falls. This is the Yosemite Falls Trail. Now I've been to Yosemite 10 or 12 times. In the last 10 years, I've probably been 4 or 5 times. I've never actually done this trail, which is one of the more famous, popular trails in the park. So I wanted to rectify that first thing on this visit. I'm gonna be spending 2 days in the park. Both days will be covered in this video. I'm gonna do some pretty famous, popular things, and then also some not so famous, not so popular things. So it should be a nice cross-section of things to do on any visit to Yosemite National Park. I'm excited. So this is called Columbia Rock. It's a little rock viewpoint area about a mile into the trail. This is looking down the valley. I think some people choose to do just this hike to the rock here, but it's steep still. And this is really the highlight of Yosemite National Park. This is Half Dome. It gets my vote as the single most beautiful thing in the single most beautiful place in America. It is just a staggeringly beautiful mountain, and you can hike up it. The hike up there is one of the classic hikes in America. I've done it 3 times. Just an excellent, excellent hike. Then around the corner here, can't quite see it yet, is Yosemite Falls. That's where we're headed. Actually, we're headed to the top of the falls, which is up here somewhere. I've been kind of hiking with my head down here, but I looked up and I heard something different. There was a new sound to hit my ears. I looked up and sure enough, it was the waterfall. This is Yosemite Falls. More specifically, this is Upper Yosemite Falls. It's a little bit on the anorexic side right now. At certain times during the spring, it is just a raging waterfall. And that's when it's the most spectacular, but I'm not here then. It could be worse though. Sometimes it dries up completely. Like later in the season, it'll be completely dry, which would just be tragic. It would be terrible to hike this hike without that waterfall there, because that is the main draw of this hike, obviously. Without that, I mean, it would still be pretty, you'd still have nice views, but it would be brutal. Like the soul of the hike would be gone. This is all solid rock along the sides of the waterfall. There's no way a trail could be put in over here. I believe the trail goes back up through this little side canyon here. But I want you to remember this little point right here, this little spire, and then this little high point of the cliff right there. If this will focus. I don't know if you can really see in the camera, but there's a detached spire that's separate from the wall there. That's Lost Arrow Spire. And then in the middle there, that little high point is Yosemite Point. And I want you to remember these because we are going to be hiking up to that point. So the regular trail goes to the top of the waterfall, but then there's a little extension you can do that leads over to Yosemite Point. So that's what I'm gonna do also. This hike is like a Stairmaster climb that lasts for hours and hours and hours. I made it to the top, and now the trail kind of goes down here to an overlook of the top of the falls proper. Look at that, beautiful. But the top of the actual falls that goes over the final drop is down here. Maybe I can go see it from over this way a little bit more. Oh yeah, here we go. So this path leads down to the actual viewpoint right there. Okay, there's the top, but you can't really get a better view of it than that. You need to get right there, but you're not supposed to go beyond the beyond the railing here. It's a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Okay, if you stand on the railing, you can look over the edge. And here's the view looking out toward the valley. So this here is Sentinel Dome. Take note of that, because I'm going to try to hike up there later today if I can find parking at the trailhead. And then you can't quite see Half Dome from over here. This dome right here, I think that's Mount Star King. But you can't quite see Half Dome, which is just out of frame over here. Took just about 2 hours to get here. I made good time. And I'm now going to hike over to the point that's over that way a little bit more, Yosemite Point. I think from there you have good views of Half Dome. I don't think you can see the waterfall anymore from over there. Going back up this crazy little staircase now. Yosemite has a bunch of beautiful waterfalls. Yosemite Falls is the highest. I think it might be the highest in the mainland US. I know there are some taller ones in Hawaii, but at like 2,400 feet long or tall, it is the highest in the area by far. It's in 3 different sections. There's the main upper falls, and then there's a middle cascade section where it kind of tumbles down, and the lower falls. You have to cross the creek here to get to Yosemite Point. There's a big, beautiful, solid bridge right here. You don't need to ford it or anything, ford the creek. This is Yosemite Creek, and this is the creek that does indeed flow over the waterfall just a short distance over here. It's so mild and placid and beautiful right now. But again, in the spring, earlier in the spring, I bet this thing is just raging. And here we have arrived at Yosemite Point. To the left, first off, we have Half Dome. Again, just an iconic, incredible mountain. And this over here is Glacier Point. Over here, this is another iconic vista spot. You can just drive over there and get amazing views of Half Dome. And I've been there several times. Don't think I'll go there on this trip because, again, I want to go up to the top of Sentinel Dome over there. And this is looking straight down. Hold your breath. This is a couple thousand feet straight down. Let's go over this way, see if we can see the waterfall. Nope, not really. But you can see the top of the spire here. So this is Lost Arrow Spire. It's a super classic rock climb, and you can like dangle between the top of the spire and the rim of the cliff right there. Pretty cool. Oh, and over here you can see the switchbacks of the Yosemite Falls Trail. Let's see if I can get us a better view of Lost Arrow Spire. Okay, here is a much better view of Lost Arrow Spire. Look at that. I actually heard some jangling, a familiar jangling of climbing gear. There's some guys over here rappelling down into the notch between the cliff and the spire. And that's where the climb starts. You rappel down into there, then climb up. I'm gonna sit and rest here and drink some water, have some food. Gonna hike back down to the car, gonna drive out of the valley. And again, the goal is gonna be to go up Sentinel Dome. And then I also might make a couple of stops on the way out. Again, if I can easily find parking, I'll pull over and show you some other scenic vistas. But overall, I'm glad I did the hike. I think it's definitely more worth doing in the spring when it's raging, when the waterfall is raging. I think that's when it would be really spectacular, because the view at the observation point, the viewpoint, you can't really see much of Yosemite Valley. Like, the focal point is the top of the waterfall. But when the water is low, you can't see much water coming down. So I enjoyed the hike. I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I hiked out to Yosemite Point here too. I think that was definitely worth doing. And even though I think that this is the most beautiful place in America, I don't love coming here because it's such a zoo. Like, there are so many people, and it's hard. It's not my scene. It's not a place I come to very often, but every time I do come here, I'm reminded of how spectacular it really is, and it is worth putting up with the crowds to come visit here, for sure. The hike down went well. So many people, just hundreds and hundreds of people on that trail. I don't think I've ever seen so many people on a trail before. It was insane. But I'm out in the meadow. I'm out in El Capitan Meadow. I'm below the gigantic granite monolith that is El Capitan. This is the largest cliff in Yosemite. It's about 3,000 feet tall. It is just a gigantic, sweeping, beautiful piece of rock. Just huge and gorgeous. And then across the way, across the valley here, these are the cathedral rocks. I think that's what these are called. And these are the cathedral spires over here, higher and lower cathedral spire. When I was a teenager, I used to just study climbing guidebooks to Yosemite. I was obsessed. And so that's how I know what these things are. Not that they're hard to miss. I mean, they're, pretty obvious, but they're just so beautiful. Okay, let's keep driving on out of here. There's one little stopover I want to make, if I can find parking, on our way to Sentinel Dome. This is one of two just iconic views in Yosemite. This is tunnel view. You can see basically everything. You've got El Capitan here and Half Dome at the end, and the cathedral rocks right here, and then Bridal Veil Fall. I don't know if you can really see it. I can see it, but it's in the shadows right there. And it is super popular. I think the view will be a little bit better over here, so let's go over that way. Okay, yeah, that's a better view. Fewer trees in the way. I'm at the Sentinel Dome trailhead. I knew it would be busy and popular. I didn't know it would be this busy and popular. There are a lot of cars here. Parked in the parking lot, parked on both sides of the road. Here's the trail. There are a couple different options here. There are some viewpoints off this way, going to Taft Point. I'm going off this way to Sentinel Dome, which is 1.1 miles this way. think the dome itself, Sentinel Dome itself, is right here. That's what I'm going up to the top of. Look at that, a glimpse of Half Dome through the trees there. It's so close. Alright, here's where it goes from trail to rock, and this pretty low angled path leads up to the top on the granite itself. And here's the top. This looks like the true summit up here somewhere. We'll call this good. Here's the benchmark survey marker. This is the lower end of Yosemite Valley. Ooh, it's windy. That's El Capitan right there, and then the Cathedral Rocks are over on that side. And then over this way is Yosemite Falls, where I was just a few hours ago. Here's upper Yosemite Falls, and then there's the middle section, and then right there is lower Yosemite Falls. And then Yosemite Point is right there, and Lost Arrow Spire is over there too. Can't really see it from here. And then over this way, this is the money shot over here. There's Half Dome. And then remember, or take note rather, of this mountain just left of Half Dome. Right there. Right there. It's called Cloud's Rest, and I'll be hiking up that tomorrow. That'll also be in this video. Got a couple more domes over here. And further this way is Little Yosemite Valley with more granite walls and waterfalls over there. Just all sorts of incredible, fantastic mountains and canyons and waterfalls. Incredible view. Well, I left the top. I descended down to where the rock of the dome meets back up with the trail, and then I basically just struck out into the woods toward Half Dome from there. I wanted to find a place that was a little bit more calming for me, a place with fewer people. I think I found one. So there's no one else here. I'm 3 minutes from the main trail. And the view is almost as good. But overall it's way better because there's no one else. That is a spectacular piece of rock. And you can see Nevada Falls down there. Well, update. I was parked right here, and as I tried to go up onto the road, my car started sliding over and over to the point where it has slid off of the road. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I have an update for you guys. So as I was standing there pondering what on earth to do, and I'm recording this on my phone, it's a terrible camera, but as I was standing just kind of staring at my car wondering what to do, this guy came over and we started talking about it, and he offered to give me a ride down the road to Glacier Point, where he thought that they had cell service and maybe there was a ranger there. So he gave me a ride there, him and his brother. I called AAA, which I have, and they, I walked them through everything, told them where I was, and we completed the process. And then I needed to get a ride back here. I was like, okay, how do I do this? Do I just ask random people to give me a ride? So as I was kind of standing there on the side of the road trying to figure out what to do, those same guys were leaving, and it had been 20 minutes, so I figured they were long gone. But they saw me and they're like, hey, you're still here. It's like, yeah, can I get a ride? They were like, yeah, sure. So anyway, they gave me a ride back to my car. It's right there. So I'm just waiting for the AAA guy to come get me. I don't know how on earth they're going to get me out of here. We'll see. I mean, it might end up damaging the car, might end up scraping the car against those trees. Yeah. It was dumb to park there, obviously. It's working. Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that my car is out. The truck was able to haul it out of there. The bad news is that I think something might be wrong with one of my wheels. The front left wheel is making a pretty terrible kind of scraping sound as I drive. And so I need to kind of abort the mission here. I'm gonna go to Fresno tomorrow to go to a mechanic to try to get this figured out, and who knows, I might have to stay in a hotel for a couple of days. Should be interesting. But anyway, I'm kind of in a bad mood, so I'm gonna end this part of the video here, and I'll let you know when I have something else to report, when I have good information to tell you. Okay, it is 4 p.m. the next day. Let me get you all caught up. So this morning I drove about 15 minutes down the road into a town called Oakhurst, and I went to a mechanic and I told them what happened, and I wanted them to, I guess, just take things apart, see what was rubbing on what, see if there was debris in there, see if there were rocks or dirt or something in there. They called me back a few hours later and said that, yeah, there was a lot of debris, a lot of dirt and rock in there. They cleaned it all out. And so the tire no longer made the noise, or the wheel rather no longer made the noise, and it was just a $25 fix. They had some sort of like diagnosis thing that cost $25 where they take all the wheels off and check everything and make sure everything looks good. And so that's what they did. You know, presumably they make more money than that by figuring out what's wrong with your wheels or tires and then fixing those things. But there was nothing additional for them to do. It was just the dirt that was in there. So they took all that off, they took the wheels off, cleaned everything out, put them back on, cost me $25 to get it fixed. And so that horrible sound in there was like a little rock or something. And it's all fixed now. And so I am back in Yosemite National Park. I lost about half a day, maybe a little bit more than half a day. The plan yesterday, after going to Sentinel Dome, was to go to one of the giant sequoia groves in the park. There are 3, I think. There's Mariposa Grove and Tuolumne Grove and Merced Grove. I've been to the first 2 before. I've never been to Merced Grove. I think it's the smallest of the 3 groves. And so I'm here now, I'm there now. I'm at the trailhead. It's a short walk in, half a mile, maybe a mile, I don't quite remember, but shouldn't take very long to get to the trees, and I'm excited. These are the, let's see, I get these and the coastal redwoods mixed up. So I think the coastal redwoods are the tallest trees in the world, but I think the giant sequoias are the largest trees by mass in the world. I think that's right. And so like the coastal redwoods, these are just gigantic, ridiculously huge, ridiculously impressive and beautiful trees. And my battery just died, so I replaced it with a new one. I was going to say that it's been several years since I've been to the giant sequoias, so I'm excited. These are big, beautiful trees, and I can't wait to show them to you. The sign of the trailhead here explains that this is the smallest of Yosemite's 3 giant sequoia groves, and it's 1.5 miles, so a mile and a half each way. So to put a bow on the whole car debacle, it ended up costing me about half a day and about $24 or whatever, $23, whatever it was. Glad I had that AAA membership. The guy said that without that it would have cost a few $100s to tow me out of there, which I happily would have paid. I mean, that's pretty reasonable if you ask me, but I didn't have to pay that with the AAA membership. And if you guys don't have AAA, which is just like a roadside assistance program, if you don't have that or something similar, I highly recommend doing it. I use mine at least a couple times a year for various things. It's saved my bacon more than once. So here's the first little clump of trees here, of giant sequoias. You're not supposed to walk over there apparently, so I can't really give you a sense of scale by standing next to them, unfortunately. But these are huge trees. This is, I'm guessing, about 8 feet across at the base here. That bark is just so beautiful. This one here has been burned a little bit. I'm sure all of these have endured fire to some extent, given how old they are. Can't really see it, but this is all blackened and burned right there. And then there's some blackened bark over there. The scale of these things is just, it's just insane. Like, you look at it on film, I'm sure, and you think, oh, it's just another tree. Yeah, but it's a tree that's 10 feet across. And then there's one a little bit past that last clump, kind of standing on its own in the forest over here. It's got a big old burl on it. I think that's what those are called, right? It's now just before 8 o'clock and I have a really great campsite here. I'm really happy with this one. It's gorgeous. We have old cinder cones and volcanoes over here to the left. Beautiful views of the mountains. Here's the campsite. And on the right, more mountains and more desert. And more of this kind of pumicey, ashy soil here. It's pretty interesting. Day 2 of our little Yosemite adventures in the books. This was supposed to be the final day, but unforeseen car issues meant that we're gonna tack on one more day to our Yosemite trip here. I'm gonna wake up probably around 4 a.m., get to the national park boundary at about 5, be hiking by 5:30, hopefully. All right, guys, gonna fly the drone here. Gonna get some aerial footage of this campsite. This is, of course, outside of the national park, so I can fly the drone here. And then I will see you guys probably at the trailhead or maybe on the trail or on the drive going into the national park. If there's enough daylight, I'll maybe show you some scenic driving footage. But either way, see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Morning, everyone. I'm not where I'm going to be starting the hike. I'm a little bit up the road from there, about 1.5 miles from the trailhead. I'm at a place called Olmstead Point. This is a viewpoint that I thought would be a good place to start because it gives you a good look at our destination for the day. So first off, this is a unique viewpoint because it gives you a really unique angle, really unique look on Half Dome over there, which I love. But this is where we're going. This is Cloud's Rest. It's basically the less famous older brother to Half Dome. It's higher than Half Dome. I've done Half Dome 3 times before. I've climbed Half Dome 3 times. It's an excellent, excellent hike. I don't think the Cloud's Rest hike is quite as classic, but you need a permit for Half Dome to hike up Half Dome. And I think that Cloud's Rest is potentially a good alternative if you don't have a Half Dome permit, but we'll see. I've never done it. Let's get back in the car. Let's start our adventure here, our hike up Cloud's Rest. I think a fair amount of this hike is just hiking through forest, and so if it's just that the entire way, I'm not going to show you every last inch of that. I'll just show you some highlights, and then once the views get more interesting, I'll focus more on that footage. 7.4 miles to Cloud's Rest. It's been about 2 hours now. I've gone just under 5 miles. Not a whole lot to report, not a whole lot to show you. I've just been hiking through forest, and there haven't been that great of views, but I think I have a good look at Cloud's Rest for the first time here at the actual summit. And it's this over here, that granite dome sticking up. Haven't seen any other people since about 15 minutes after I started, when I passed 2 other groups, so it's been nice. So this is the top right here. What a place. This is incredible. Let's start over with the views of Yosemite Valley. There's Half Dome on the left, a view that you don't see very often of it. And then this is the deep, narrow chasm of Yosemite Valley. You can see several notable features from here. This is Washington Column, and I think that's Crest Dome. And then you can see the top of El Capitan right there, and Cathedral Rocks over there. But that view of Half Dome is so cool. And then this is Mount Watkins right here. I think this is called Tenaya Canyon. And then this is looking back toward Tuolumne Meadows. This over here is Tenaya Lake. That's basically where I started. On the left side of that lake is essentially where the trailhead was. It's just full of granite domes and pointy peaks. Craggy summits in every direction. Let's go look this way a little bit more. Yeah, just endless granite domes and stone slabs. This is an incredible viewpoint. And then this is looking down at the slabs below the summit here, leading down into Tenaya Canyon. A couple thousand feet down below. And possibly my favorite thing about this place is that you can't hear the cars in Yosemite Valley from here. Let's check out the stats from the hike. So it wasn't quite as long as I had been led to believe. I thought it was about 7 or 7.5 miles each way. Turned out to be 6.32 miles with 2,100 feet of elevation gain. Took me 2 hours, 36 minutes. The hike itself wasn't that great. It was just through forest, and occasionally you'd get some views of some cliffs off to the side, but as far as like the hike itself, not especially worth doing. But the summit view is incredible, so the hike is worth doing for this view. And I think this is a good place to end the video, to end my Yosemite adventure. I'll have some snacks up here and take some more pictures, and then I'm gonna head a few hours back to the car the way I came, and gonna spend the rest of the day fishing, probably up in the Tuolumne Meadows area. Should be a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, these 3 days in Yosemite National Park. What a wild ride it's been. Some things definitely didn't go as expected, but you know, it's all part of the fun, all part of the adventure. In the end, everything usually turns out all right, and sure enough, it did on this trip. So thanks again for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite part was. Let me know what your experiences have been like in Yosemite National Park. I'll see you in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.